fever. So once the Salmonella typhi, this is the organism Salmonella typhi, enters the intestinal cells, that is enterocytes, it enters or it affects the intestinal part of the terminal ileum. So terminal ileum is the one which is affected. So what happens is, once it is entering the intestinal epithelium, that is enterocytes, the Peyer's patches hypertrophy occurs, the resident macrophages get invaded, mesenteric lymph nodes hypertrophy is seen, and this can cause, mostly it causes a bacteremia. So primary bacteremia will be there. Unlike the non-typhoidal salmonellosis, bacteremia is rare. But here enteric fever is a primary bacteremia source, and because of the primary bacteremia, the hematogenous seeding occurs predominantly in the reticuloendothelial system, that is in the liver, spleen, bone marrow, gallbladder, etc. So this is how the pathogenesis of typhoid fever occurs. So clinical manifestations of typhoid fever is at least 1 week of incubation period. So 7 to 14 days, after which a mild, a low grade fever starts. There will be mild malaise, and then there is a full blown picture of abdominal pain, abdominal discomfort, and because of the primary bacteremia, multiple complications can occur. Pea soup diarrhea is seen, that is there is no frank diarrhea, there can be constipation. That is called as pea soup diarrhea. There can be a rash, but these these spots, that is rose spots, are very rare in the Indian population. It can be seen in the first week of illness, typically lasts for 2 to 3 days only. We are all familiar with this term, that is relative bradycardia. Relative bradycardia is, there is a pulse and fever dissociation. The pulse rate does not increase as the temperature increases. So relative bradycardia, the characteristic fever that we always associate relative bradycardia to is enteric fever. Although it can be seen in many other illnesses also, even in rickettsia, relative bradycardia is seen. So it is a very non-specific finding, but we usually associate relative bradycardia to enteric fever. So this is a table taken from the Nelson textbook, so which is telling you what are the clinical features right from the most common percentage of occurrence, right? So high grade fever, what starts as a low grade fever initially becomes a very high grade fever by day 2, day 3. 95% will have a, high grade fever, coated tongue, anorexia, then vomiting, followed by abdominal pain, constipation, headache, jaundice, etc. So apart from these, the clinical findings, hepatomegaly will be there, splenomegaly will be there, pallor, child looks toxic. So these are the common clinical features of typhoid fever. Ileus, obtundation, intestinal perforation are all complications of typhoid fever.